This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today I'm going to go through an old quote, a quote that was it's probably old. I don't know. I've known it for a while. I just remember like awkwardly sharing it on Facebook many years ago, and then it popping up on my memories on Facebook. You ever do that? You ever go through your memories and be like, "Oh God, I was that annoying person. Oh God." Maybe I'm going to do that again. Maybe I'll listen back to this in a couple of years and think the same thing. Anyway, that quote says that your brightest hour may very well come in your darkest day. I have no idea where I got the quote from. I have no idea who said it. But for whatever reason, when I was younger, it sort of resonated with me and it sat with me. And so I suppose I sort of somewhat conceptually understood it back in the day. I think what it meant to me back then, and I'm going to kind of do my best to pull it apart. I haven't articulated it out loud ever. I think, so you guys get a fresh approach of it. But I think what it meant back then was, if I'm having a bad day, it's the only sort of silver lining, in short, right? Like, a lot of the times we get carried away with this bad day that we actually get to miss the opportunities within that day. And so it's kind of like we judge it or clarify it as a bad day because something happened at the start that we just said, oh, well, that's bad. And then maybe because we, if not, noticed that, we started to notice more bad things, in inverted commas. And what's really interesting is that if you're familiar with the term called your RAS, your reticular activating system, this is the part of the brain that will, once it knows to recognize something, it will start recognizing it everywhere. It's one of the reasons why if you get a new car, you start seeing that car everywhere, even though you want to get a new car, and you start seeing that car was already there, but now that you've sort of put it into effectively the front of your mind, you'll start seeing it more often. So the RAS could be a part of that, but if you have something that occurs early in the day and then you are going to claim that it's a bad day, it's common to then find more evidence to back up your belief. And so even when you're having a good day and something, minor happens that goes the other way, it doesn't derail you because you've had all this good things happen. Well, that's what you call them, right? And what it is over time, it's actually learning to be not pulled left or right or whatever based upon what you deem to be good or bad. It's allowing you to understand that what you may perceive as bad will often put you in a good space, right? And what I mean by that is that if you look at some of the hardest things that you've had to go through and some of the most difficult challenges that you faced that were bad at the time, they ended up leading you to a good path. I mean, that's a macro view of your day. And so what happens when we get sort of caught focusing on all the bad that's occurring around us in a day and in a lifetime, we stop to see the small good opportunities or the opportunities to do good, to create some sort of value in our day, value in our life. And so what's happening is that when something occurs that maybe isn't favorable for us, rather than labeling that bad or the rest of the whole day bad, I mean, we haven't had the whole fucking day anyway, you just understand the difficulty of that situation and you work through it. Now, if something good happens, that too it'll come, it'll be good, and it'll leave. It'll pass effectively. And so it's really becoming aware of this idea that when we start this good and bad game, we get pulled either way. Rather than recognizing that with any difficulties that we have, there is always the seed of opportunity of improvement. There's always a seed of opportunity of growth. And we have to be very careful to globally label something bad or negative when there is a seed and an opportunity within that situation, that occurrence that can lead to a greater good. And so understanding this quote that your brightest hour may very well come in your darkest day means that there is so much more opportunity around us than we give credit to. And I think this is the powerful thing to really sort of pay attention to next time you find yourself stuck in your emotions of, a spiral downwards and woe is me and the victim space. And I think we all are guilty of being there in some variation, even if it's only for a little period of time and we recognize it. And understanding that as long as we focus on why we can't do something, why woe is me, why we're the victim, we aren't actually focusing on how we can work our way out of it. What is the good in this situation? Who do I still have around me? And it's not about always, doing the whole, like, let's just look at the positive side of life. That sometimes can be too naive. Sometimes it's a matter of looking at everything and just being objective and go, okay, well, what are my decisions? What are my options from here? Based on my previous experience, and by the way, we gain experience by making decisions, and a lot of the time they're bad decisions, but that's what gives us experience. The people that you want to look up to and pay a lot of money for to mentor you, coach you, to teach you, they've all made bad decisions that's given them experience, and you're paying for that. That's part of the process, right? And so what we can do is look at all of the options that lay out in front of us, neither good nor bad, and make a decision based on our best knowledge up into this current moment. And this is why we can never make a right or wrong decision per se, even though it's worth admitting when you think you're wrong. I do agree with that. I'm saying that it's never a right decision. It's just the best decision you can make with all the information you have at this stage in your life. If you came across that situation in 10 years' time, maybe you would make a different decision, right? Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe 20, maybe 30. You get the point. So what I want to stress to you during this conversation here is be very wary of catching yourself. And I do recommend not necessarily doing this to other people, because people are like, having a bad day. It's like, just look at the bright side. It's like, that person punches you, fucking so be it. Like, it's not always our job to cheer people up. Some people actually, and if you do the Enneagram and you're a type 4, you might actually relate to this. Some people actually like to sit in this sort of melancholy, of like this kind of like neither here nor there, and they're happy to sit with this sort of taste in their mouth, and then they'll get through it. They'll get over it at their own space, their own time. You're not meant to understand it. You're not meant to change it. Just because it's, quote unquote, a bad emotion doesn't mean you shouldn't move through it, and you actually should let people move through it, including yourself. So if you're sad or you're frustrated, don't fucking avoid it. Move through it. What is this pointing to? So yeah, my advice isn't to just go there and start throwing this quote around in people's faces when they're having a bad day. My quote is, the quote here is to, and what I'm, encouraging you to consider is, when you find yourself running through dot points of why you're having a bad day, take note that what you're doing is actually finding more evidence to build up a map of the day that maybe isn't necessarily true. But as long as you're doing that, what definitely is true is that you're not focusing on all of the opportunities that have been presented throughout this day, right? And sometimes you need to give yourself a bit of space. It's not just a matter of being like, oh, it's really good, Dave, sick, I'll go do that now. Sometimes it's giving yourself a bit of space, just having a fucking breather, relax, and then making a decision once you've calmed yourself down. And when I say breather, don't breathe into your chest and raise your shoulders. I'm talking breathe into your stomach. Breathe and relax. Yes, that's one of the ways we actually do relax, and that's one of the ways we can start making better and clearer decisions, because we're not in our head and we're not as stressed. So that's my recommendations for you guys to play around with. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode today. Once again, that quote is that your brightest hour may very well come in your darkest day. And think about that. I'd love to know what it means to you. If you haven't already, please jump on davidnixon.com.au/memberships. Check out Mood Prep Online. It's where you can come and continue the conversation on the podcast. I've got a Q&A actually in there this Friday, lunchtime, Australian Eastern Standard Time. Otherwise, if you found this conversation, this podcast, beneficial, it would mean the world to me if you'd pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. Otherwise, team, until tomorrow, peace and pizza, kick today in the dick, slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.